HOA President tried to fine us into foreclosure over a bird feeder. Now she's bankrupt, blacklisted, and facing jail time. It started with a bird feeder. My wife loves birds, so I built her one for her birthday. Simple, handmade, hanging in our backyard. 2 days later, we got a fine. Then another. Then it got worse. My wife and I moved into Brookstone Ridge 3 years ago. It's the kind of neighborhood where people still wave to each other from their driveways and take pride in their over-mulched flower beds. A quiet cul-de-sac with matching mailboxes and weekend barbecues. Seemed like the American dream, until we met Brenda. Brenda wasn't just the HOA president. She was the unelected queen of petty, the self-declared enforcer of the covenants, and a one-woman code violation machine. Picture Dolores Umbridge with a clipboard. Her favorite hobby was slapping neighbors with $50 fines for infractions, like leaving a trash bin out past 9 a.m., or having wind chimes that were audible from the street. Every month her President's Bulletin would show up in our mailbox, single-spaced, Comic Sans, and full of passive-aggressive tips on maintaining community standards. You'd think we were living in a gated estate in Beverly Hills, not a middle-class suburb with vinyl siding and cracked sidewalks. I mostly ignored her. My wife, bless her heart, tried to stay on Brenda's good side. But that didn't last. For her birthday, I built her a custom cedar bird feeder. She's a bird nerd, and it was beautiful, hand-carved, hanging from a shepherd's hook in the backyard, where she could watch finches and cardinals with her morning coffee. 2 days later, we got the first violation. Bylaw 11.4c. Yard ornamentation must not attract vermin or excessive wildlife. Attached, a $50 fine and a blurry photo of our feeder. I was confused. We'd seen similar bird feeders around the neighborhood, including in the backyards of a few of Brenda's inner circle. So I did what any reasonable neighbor would do. I went to the next HOA meeting and brought it up. Big mistake. Brenda didn't like being questioned. She waved off my comparisons and claimed that other feeders were grandfathered in or not visible from adjacent properties, neither of which made sense. But whatever. I left thinking it would blow over. It didn't. The next week, we got a new violation, this time for unauthorized lawn edging material. Apparently, the stone border I installed 2 years ago was now non-compliant because it deviated from the neighborhood aesthetic. Another $75. Then came the notice for excessive weed presence. The photo she included was zoomed in so far it looked like Bigfoot footage of a single dandelion near our driveway. $50. Next, a $100 fine for failure to maintain uniform mailbox appearance. Ours was identical to the one in the HOA handbook, but Brenda said our mailbox flag was a non-standard shade of red. I'm not kidding. In total, 5 violations in 6 weeks, none of them remotely serious, all of them obviously targeted. When I tried to dispute them through the official channels, I was told the board had reviewed and upheld Brenda's determinations. That's when the real threat arrived. A thick envelope showed up in our mailbox. Certified. Inside. Final notice of compliance deficiency, intent to lien. If we didn't pay $425 in accumulated fines and administrative penalties within 30 days, they would initiate the process of placing a lien on our home. All over a bird feeder. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules. It was about control. Brenda had picked us as her next example, and she was using the full weight of a broken system to try to break us. But she made one critical error. She assumed I was just some quiet IT guy. She didn't know what I really did for a living. Brenda thought I'd fold. Most people do when they get that lien letter. It's designed to scare you. And I admit it worked for a day or two. My wife was panicking. I was furious. But more than anything, I was curious. See, my actual job isn't just IT guy. I'm a compliance analyst for a cybersecurity firm. I audit systems for structural weaknesses. It's my job to find flaws in rules, policies, processes, contracts, code. And from the moment I read the HOA's enforcement policy, I knew one thing. Their system was trash. It was a Frankenstein's monster of outdated PDFs, contradicting clauses, and arbitrary loopholes. A bylaw spaghetti bowl written by bored retirees and power-hungry volunteers over the past 2 decades. They counted on no one ever reading the fine print. Unfortunately for Brenda, I read every word. I started with the violations. Turns out, Brenda had violated her own process several times. According to Bylaw 3.7, any violation must be accompanied by a corrective action window, no less than 14 days. Brenda had fined us immediately. That's strike 1. Next, I checked board member conduct. According to Article 5, Section 2, the board president cannot unilaterally escalate enforcement without a vote from the full board, and that vote must be documented in the monthly minutes. I requested the minutes under our community's member inspection rights. The HOA secretary, who, bless her, was clearly over it, emailed them to me within the week. Not only was there no vote, there was no mention of our case at all. Brenda had gone rogue. Strike 2. Then I started digging deeper. Not into violations. Into Brenda. The HOA's own bylaws required all board members to live in the neighborhood full-time and be current on dues. So I pulled the public property tax records for her address. You can do this in most counties, it's all online. And guess what? Brenda didn't live here. She used to. But 2 years ago, she transferred the deed to her nephew and moved 2 towns over. She still owned a rental unit here, technically, but was no longer a legal resident. Which meant, under the HOA charter, she couldn't serve on the board at all. Strike 3. I had her. But I wasn't going to send a stern email or go to another one of her stacked meetings. No, I wanted a clean kill. I wanted the entire board gone, not just Brenda. And I wanted to do it by the book. So I got to work. Brenda broke the rules. That was enough for me. But if I wanted to remove her, and the entire board that let her run wild, I needed to go further than just exposing hypocrisy. I had to trigger a full recall election. And lucky me, the bylaws had a process for that too. Article 7, Section 4, special meetings may be called by petition of 30% of member households. That was my ticket. Brookstone Ridge had 118 homes. That meant I needed 36 valid signatures. Manageable, but not automatic. People around here hated conflict. Brenda had ruled for so long, they just assumed the HOA was unchangeable. But what they really needed was a reason to care. So I gave them one. I put together a short packet I titled, Know Your Rights, How the Board Violated HOA Policy and Targeted Homeowners. It was written in plain English, no tech jargon, no legalese. Just facts, screenshots, excerpts from the bylaws, and copies of our violation letters next to proof of similar homes with no citations. I even included the property records showing Brenda no longer lived in the neighborhood, with a little highlighter action for effect. Then I started knocking on doors. Some people were suspicious. Others were downright afraid to get involved. But most were pissed. They had their own stories. Fines for grass that was too long during a heat wave. Threats over Halloween decorations. One couple told me Brenda tried to charge them $200 for putting up a Happy Diwali sign, saying it violated the rule against seasonal decor without board approval. By the end of the weekend, I had 49 signatures. 13 more than I needed. I submitted the petition with a request for a special election and demanded the board follow the process outlined in the HOA's charter. According to the rules, they had 30 days to schedule it, with notice mailed to all residents. They tried to stall, of course. Claimed they needed time to validate signatures. But I had already checked that box, cross-referenced each one with the public roster of member homes, again, available via public records. They had no choice. The date was set. And while they were scrambling, I was organizing. I created a website, printed flyers, sent emails. I even set up a quiet little forum where neighbors could anonymously share their experiences. I wasn't just running a campaign. I was leading a movement. On the night of the vote, we packed the community clubhouse. I counted 70 people. Brenda was there too, sitting at the front like a dethroned monarch, fake smile plastered on, eyes darting like she was looking for a fire alarm to pull. The vote wasn't even close. 61-9. Brenda and the entire board were removed. The new board wasted no time launching a full forensic audit of the HOA's finances going back 6 years, Brenda's entire reign of petty terror. What they found was worse than anyone expected. It wasn't just $1,200 here or $600 there. It was tens of thousands of dollars, siphoned from neighborhood dues into her own pocket, disguised as reimbursements or community expenses. Some highlights: $12,400 to a landscaping company owned by her cousin, which had never actually done any landscaping. $9,700 in legal consultation fees, but no record of any legal work, and the firm didn't exist. $4,800 in annual storage fees for HOA records, later discovered to be a storage unit she used for her personal furniture during a remodel. $6,300 for a community beautification grant, spent on decor that never showed up, not even receipts. $3,200 in holiday expenses, for events that were canceled 3 years in a row. The total, $43,000 plus in fraudulent and unaccounted spending. The HOA's legal counsel got involved immediately. With the audit results in hand, the board filed a civil suit to recover the funds and pressed criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. Brenda was served in person, in front of neighbors. Turns out, Brenda still technically owned a rental property in Brookstone Ridge, the one she used to claim she was a resident. The court placed an emergency lien on that property pending the civil suit. She fought it. But between the forensic evidence, the false residency filings, and the board's testimonies, the judge wasn't having it. She lost the case. Brenda was ordered to repay every penny, plus attorney fees and damages, totaling $57,000. She didn't have it. The court authorized the forced sale of her rental property to satisfy the judgment. She had no choice. She lost it at auction, below market value. Everything she built up in the community, gone. Remember that fake legal firm she funneled money to? Turns out, writing fake checks to a fake company you control is criminal fraud. The county DA picked up the case. With the audit, the records, and sworn statements from the new board, they had her dead to rights. Brenda was arrested and charged with embezzlement, wire fraud, falsifying financial records, filing false documentation with a governing agency. She took a plea deal to avoid trial, but still ended up with 9 months in county jail and a felony fraud conviction on her record. While all this was going down, I also submitted everything to her employer's HR department. Not just the fraud, but the fact that she had lied about being on an HOA board as a community leadership bullet point on her resume. She was fired immediately. No severance. No reference. Nothing. Her LinkedIn vanished within a day. And because of the criminal conviction, she won't be working in insurance again. Especially not in compliance. The bird feeder still hangs in our backyard. My wife fills it every weekend. It's become kind of a landmark now. Neighbors come by just to admire it and joke about it being Exhibit A in the fall of a tyrant.